opportunity right now?
Well, I certainly.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. I'm certainly not going to answer that down to the block or the zip code. Before I do that, I think that Marty made some really excellent points, and I'd like to just pile on a little bit and disagree slightly. One, I would say, is that while we're clearly not at the end of the innings, we actually see a little bit of a valuation bubble in certain asset classes, in trophy assets, that we think may or may not be sustainable. So we are seeing people willing to take all-time low returns and make all-time aggressive assumptions about growth in order to buy assets. And whether or not that's sustainable has a lot to do with the second commentary that Marty just made about how long this quantitative easing and this free money is going to exist. And if it's going to exist forever, then maybe there is no valuation bubble, and maybe IRR should really be 4 or 5% levered for trophy assets. I would leave that for others to decide, but I think that there is just too much asymmetric risk in that trade, and that scares me. I do agree that there's nothing on the horizon that's going to create the type of inflation or job growth that's likely to push interest rates up. And just to pile on a bit, I would say that I agree that both the slack in the labor force is the primary culprit in this, and that I believe that is being caused by productivity gains as well as underemployment. And I don't see anything else that is going to change that quickly. And that this kind of post-Great Recession environment that we're in, we think will be one of slower growth, but relatively predictable growth in the U.S. And that is a pretty good place to invest in real estate, especially cash flowing assets that are not, I would call, overvalued. So if you ask me what we've been targeting, I'm just going to look a little bit backwards and a little bit forward and say that our biggest sector bet has been multifamily. We've bought about 40,000 multifamily units over the last 3.5 years. Clearly, the units that we bought most recently have been more expensive to build, and the reason to buy. And the reason that we made this bet was that in a world where we saw very little economic growth, we looked at demographics, and some of the demographics that Marty talked about were very much in our mind as we looked to multifamily. Very simply, is we thought people wanted to own less housing, and that the largest population cohort in the U.S. was coming to the age and needed rental housing. So it was kind of non-economic forces that we thought would drive rental housing, and that has been the case, and it continues to be the case. We are actually building about 3,000 multifamily units as we speak across the country, and one of the things that we see as an opportunity is building into gateway markets where trophy assets are overvalued, but where risk seems to be at a premium still.